and satisfactory revenue performance. Although we have sustained efforts at boosting tax revenues, our progress has been constrained by the relatively low level of growth having just emerged from recession. This has restrained our tax revenue drive. Furthermore, the volatility in oil prices and the disruptions in oil production delayed our plans to recover past due oil license and royalty charges, as well as restructuring of the joint venture oil assets. As we have returned to the path of growth, I have directed that action on all our revenue initiatives be expedited. I have already issued a number of presidential directives on the disposal of recovered assets, deployment of the national trade window, as well as the immediate recovery of past due oil royalties, including by crude seizures if necessary. On asset recovery, in order to put to use for the benefit of all Nigerians monies and assets stolen from public treasury, we have on asset recovery, in order to put to use for the benefit of all Nigerians monies and assets stolen from public treasury, we, the 2016 budget created a revenue line in the budget for stolen and recovered funds. Thus, every government project today benefits in one way or other recovered looted funds. I have also directed all the relevant authorities to liquidate all recovered unencumbered assets, such as landed properties, buildings, and vehicles, so that these funds can be available to help in the funding of the budget, particularly the important infrastructure projects. Now to the 2018 budget. The 2018 budget was based on a benchmark oil price of $51 per barrel and oil production of 2.3 million barrels per day and an exchange rate of 305 naira to United States dollar. Based on this, the federal government's aggregate revenue of 7.17 trillion naira was projected to contribute to 2018 budget of 9.12 trillion naira. The projected deficit of 1.35 trillion naira, or 1.73% of GDP, was to be financed mainly by borrowing. In 2018, average oil production up to end of the third quarter was 1.95 million barrels per day, as against the estimated 2.3 million barrels per day for the entire year. However, average market price of Bonny light crude oil was higher, an average of $74 per barrel as at October, than the benchmark price of $15 in the budget. As at the end of the third quarter, federal government actual aggregate revenue was 2.84 trillion naira, which is 40% higher than 2017 revenue. The overall revenue performance is only 53% of the target in the 2018 budget, largely because some of items are yet to be actualized. We have now rolled this revenue item over to 2019. Of the total appropriation of 9.12 trillion naira, 4.59 trillion naira had been spent by 30th September 2018 against the prorated expenditure target of 6.84 trillion naira. This represents 67% performance. Debt service, and the implementation of non-debt recurrent expenditure, notably payment of worker salaries and pensions, are on track. Despite the delay in the passage of the 2018 budget on the 20th of June 2018, the sum of 820.57 billion naira had been released for capital projects as at 14th December 2018. We have carried over capital projects that were not likely to be fully funded by year-end 2018 to 2019 budget. The 2019 budget proposal is intended to further place the economy on the path of inclusive, diversified, and sustainable growth in order to continue to lift significant numbers of our students out of poverty. The underlying drives of the 2019 revenue projections have been adjusted to reflect current realities. On the expenditure side, allocations to ministries, departments, and agencies of government were guided by the three objectives of the ERGP, which are: 1, restoring and sustaining growth; 2, investing in our people; and 3, building a globally competitive economy. The 2019 budget proposal is based on the following assumptions: A, oil price benchmark of $60 per barrel. B, oil production estimate of 2.3 million barrels per day, including condensates. C, exchange rate of 305 naira per American dollar. 4, real GDP growth of 3.01%, and E, inflation rate of 9.98%. Notwithstanding the recent softening in international oil prices, the considered view of most reputable analysts is that the downward trend in oil prices in recent months is not necessarily reflective of the outlook for 2019. However, as a responsible administration, we will continue to monitor the situation and will respond to any changes in the international oil price outlook for 2019. With regard to oil production, I have directed the NNPC to take all possible measures to achieve the targeted oil production of 2.3 million barrels per day. The total revenue is projected at 6.97 trillion naira, which is 3% lower than the 2018 estimate of 7.17 trillion naira, consisting of oil revenue projected at 3.73 trillion naira, while non-oil revenue is estimated at 1.39 trillion naira. Excuse me.